right. Hey, this is Kevin, and I'm here at Gardner Newman Middle School with Coach Michael Woodard. Coach,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you for doing this week. This is really going to be fun for me to talk to you, Coach. We're actually in your classroom over here at Gardner Newman, and you've come back after retiring.
Correct.
You came back to teach this year. Number one, that tells me you love being in a classroom. It's where you kind of feel at home. But just tell me what kind of brought you back to the classroom this year.
Well, I would have to say the love for this occupation.
Right.
The love for this occupation, and plus they needed some teachers.
Right.
A lot of teachers quit and retired and gone. So I decided to. They came to me, and I didn't want to turn it down.
Right. They said, Coach Woodard, we need you, and you said, yeah, absolutely. Just tell me when to be there and where. Right.
Yeah. I always been a team player.
Yeah. Education, you've been involved in the world of education for quite a few years.
I am.
Coach, obviously, as a teacher and a coach. A lot of people, once you're a coach, you're always a coach, I know. But just tell me how long you've been associated with Gardner Newman. I believe you were here when the doors to this school opened, weren't you?
First open.
What year was that?
It was in '89, I think it was, when we came. No, I'm sorry. 91?
Okay.
I think 91.
So it's been more than 30 years.
Oh, yes, it has been.
Yeah. How exciting was that for you? You look back on those days to be a part of a brand new school, a brand new middle school, and obviously this is a community that means a lot to you because you're from LaGrange. You look back on that time, and how exciting was that to be a part of a brand new school?
Well, when I was before we came over here, I was working over at Boys Junior High.
Okay.
It's the old East Depot school, and before that I was at Troop Junior High School.
Okay.
We had two systems, the county system and we had the city
Right.
system. So they offered me a job to come to the city, so I came and I was there for 1 year.
Okay.
And we was at Boys Junior High for that 1 year, and at that time they were building this school, and the following year this school opened up.
Right.
We had boys and girls separated. Boys was at the Boys Junior High School, and girls was at Westside
Okay.
Junior High School.
Right.
So when it opened up, I was excited. We all were wondering, what it was going to be like,
Sure.
bringing all the boys and girls back together.
Right.
After
Yeah.
being apart for so long. But it worked out. We had some, challenges, but it worked out fairly well.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm sure you probably weren't thinking this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my educational career.
Correct.
But that's really how it's worked out. And how astonishing is that for you you look back to those days when you came here, when the school opened, and now here we are 30 years later, and this is still your professional home. So obviously what that tells me is this school means a lot to you, and it's more than just a place where you work. It really has become like a second home for you, hasn't it?
It has been, and pretty much. My wife used to tell me, you just need to get your bed and just move in over there. Especially
Right.
after long hours of coach, after teaching
Right.
all day, and then after that, you go to the gym and out on the field, and it's dark when you get ready to go
Sure.
home.
Right.
every night. So I spent plenty of nights over here, weekends, a lot of hours.
Well, the coaching profession, it's obviously I deal with a lot of coaches, and one impression I always get is it really is a calling. It's something you kind of feel compelled to do, and going into it that it's basically like having two full-time jobs. You're a teacher, you're a coach. You kind of stack those on top of each other. But for you, just the opportunity to do that here over the years, and knowing you get to make such an impact, is that obviously, like you mentioned, that's a lot of hours, but is the payoff worth it to you?
Yes, it has been. It has been, and I tell you, give you a good example, especially when you see the kids that you taught or you coached, and now that they're grown up, have families, and they see you in the grocery store or they see you somewhere out, and the first thing they do is holler, "Hey, coach, how you doing?" And you didn't realize you made that impact.
Sure.
On so many kids.
Right.
Yeah.
You also realize, boy, the years go past quickly, don't they? Because in my business, I run into people that I covered when they were in high school, and now, and now they're dads, and in some cases granddads.
Yeah, yeah.
So you realize how quickly the years go by. But for you as a, being a coach, being a small part of their lives, and having a chance to make a positive impact on them, is that obviously the wins are great and everything, but that chance to really be a positive driving force in their lives, is that the best part of coaching for you?
I would have to say yes. I would have to say yes. I was in the doctor's office a little while back, and you have to go in the waiting room, and then by the time you go in, they call you in to come to the back.
Right.
You sit in there waiting for the doctor to come in. So this person came in, nurse came in, and was going to do my vitals.
Okay.
And
right.
I looked up, and she recognized me right off. Hey, coach, how you doing? And it's like, oh, okay, you're in the nursing profession now, and
wow.
Boy, that just makes you feel good.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether I had much to do with that, her doing that, it just still made me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I have such admiration for people who go into that that profession, the nursing profession. You talk about giving of yourself. Well, let's kind of go through your timeline here at Gardner-Newman. You've held a lot of different positions here at this school. You coached different sports. I know most people know Coach Woodard as football coach, and a really cool thing, obviously, is they named the field down there after you, which is pretty amazing. And I remember talking to you that day. That was a really impactful moment. But just, I know you coach football here, but just kind of take me through some of the different roles you've had from a sports standpoint here at Gardner-Newman.
Well, as far as sports, I've gone through, first of all, before I started doing any coaching here, I was at the high school.
Right.
At the high school.
Okay. Yeah.
So at the high school, I was over there. I was working with the JV program, football program.
Right.
Guy named Ricky Thrash, Jerry Batchelor, guy named Ben Eberhardt. We were the first four. Well, the four of us worked together with the ninth grade and the JV program. I also worked with wrestling at the high school.
Okay.
Guy named Clark Rich.
Yes.
Worked with him for a while.
Clark's amazing.
And so after a period over there, I came over here. When this school opened up, we didn't have intramural. We had intramural sports.
Right.
Played each other. So after about 2 years of that, we opened up and began to compete with other schools and that kind of thing. And so we had an athletic director over here. The last name was Anderson Gooden, and he asked me if I was interested in a position here. So that's what brought me from the high school over here to take the head job over here.
Right.
And so that's where I started from. And over here, I worked on. I did football. I did boys track. Did some wrestling, and what else? And I served as athletic director here.
Right.
So, and I also served as an assistant principal for 2 years here before
I did not realize
before
that. Okay.
Happened. Yes. Under Dr. Pat Hutchins.
Right.
Under her. And so, Coach Jackson, which is a mentor of mine, love him to death. He had been telling me for years, I'm finna get ready to retire, Coach. I'm finna get ready to retire. So this particular year, he said, Coach, I'm really doing it this year. And when he showed me his letter of resignation.
That's when it hit, right?
That's when it hit. First thing I did, went to my principal and said, hey, would you please consider me for that position? He said, he's leaving this year. She said, Coach, are you sure you want him? I said, yeah, this administration is for the birds.
Right, right.
So that's when I took over as a head football coach, and ever since then.
Right.
And Mr. B.
Well, obviously, it's quite a bit different going from high school to middle school.
Oh, yeah.
That's really, I know that had to be some really fun times at LaGrange High School. You mentioned some of the people you work with. Obviously, I got to know Ricky Thrash when he was the principal at Troop High School. So you look back on those days at LaGrange High School, that was a really good time athletic-wise at the school, obviously. I think, were you still there when they won the national championship?
Well, the year that they won the national championship is when he offered me the position over here.
Right. I'm sure you still felt like you were a part of that. There, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But the big thing, you're going from high school to middle school. Over here, the really satisfying part is obviously seeing them succeed while they're here, but to see them make that transition to the high school and succeed there. And obviously, you look at what LaGrange High football did throughout the 90s, which
Yes.
is didn't win any outside of 91, didn't win championships after that, but really good run. And then obviously what LaGrange High did through the 2000s.
Right.
And a lot of those players, most of them, were players who came through this program. To see them go on from Gardner Newman to LaGrange High School and do what they did there, that's got to be so incredibly satisfying.
Yes, sir. It is. It is. And then to see that, on top of that, to see them even go farther out into the the college ranks,
Sure.
on up into the pro ranks. I've had several kids that I won't say under my tenure, but during that particular time, went on and went to the pro. Went to the pro
Right.
ranks.
Quite a few of them did.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
those
Yeah, LaGrange, for one thing, LaGrange being a small town like it is, I think if you look at the number of people that we've sent to the pros, have gone on to the pros, we're ranked,
No doubt.
as a small town, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. One of my favorite athletes I recovered was Wesley Woodard.
Wesley Woodard,
Some of you
yeah.
know well. He's just, gosh, such an incredible player and person,
Yes.
and he played in the NFL for more than 10 years and did really well. And again, it's not just the playing aspect of it, but to see them become the people they are,
Right.
too, the leaders in the community, family men.
Right.
That I'm sure that means as much to you as anything they do on the
that
field.
means
doesn't
more
it?
to me. That
Yeah.
means more to me than the profession that they're
Right.
in. Just because that's not going to last forever.
Right.
But you, as a citizen, a parent, in the community, that's going to be here.
Right.
But that playing that sport is it has it's limited.
Right.
Days of-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the, probably quite a few of the players you coached also decided to go into education and coaching themselves. I know we'll talk some more about some of the people here at the school. Marcus Blandenberg, somebody
Right. Exactly.
who stands out. That's got to mean so much to you as well. When you see them, and you might have had a part in that, to see them decide that I want to make that my calling as well, to become an educator and a coach. That's really great to see, isn't it?
And I look back at myself. When Richard Jackson, Coach Jackson, he was my first. When he first came into teaching, and it was at East Depot Elementary School. He was my science teacher, and he moved up to the high school to the 8th grade. We went there together. But then to see after all of that, and then I have the opportunity to come back and work with him.
Wow. How much fun was that?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
Was that a little surreal at first? You're like, man, I can't believe this is somebody
Right.
I idolize in some ways. And now here I am working side by side with them.
Right.
That had to be part of your brain's like, I can't believe this is actually happening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I look at now, some kids who are employees of the building. I taught them, and now I'm working. we're working together.
Right.
The same way.
Well, you look at your course of your time here at Gardner Newman, then going back at LaGrange High School, you've worked with some really incredible people, haven't you? I mean, it's just, and you still are even now, but that's just the relationships you build with your fellow teachers and your fellow coaches here over the years. When you look back, is that really what kind of stands out to you? Is just those relationships that you form with your peers and your fellow teachers here. That's got to mean a lot to you.
It does. It means a lot. It means a lot, and especially like I say, when you see them, and they've gone on, and you see them, and they're successful out there in life. They're rearing their families now, and everybody can't go to college, and everybody don't go to college, but you just so proud to see that they, at least you're successful. You have a family, you have kids, you got a job, paying job. So, that makes me feel
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be making all the money. You can't be a doctor, or you can't be a lawyer, or whatever. That kind of stuff. It's good.
Right.
But I know that's not gonna happen with everybody.
You just want them to be happy and content
Right.
and be good,
And
good
just be productive citizens,
Yep,
right.
yep, that's it. Well, when we
Exactly.
come back, Coach, we're going to talk about your background. I know you went to LaGrange High School a few years ago,
Yeah.
and we'll talk a little bit about that when we come back. But I appreciate it, Coach.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Hey, this is Kevin back here at Gardner Newman Middle School with Coach Michael Woodard. Coach, I appreciate you for doing this once again.
Yes, sir.
Tell me real quick, Coach, what do you teach here at Gardner Newman?
Okay, I have 2 roles here.
Okay.
English language arts,
Okay.
that's reading
Right.
part of the day, and then I do the other half of the day ISS.
Okay.
In school suspension, most people know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I love English. Not every student probably is quite as passionate about that as others, but that's part of being a teacher, isn't it? Is
Yes.
trying to maybe reach a student who's maybe not as interested as others, and just trying to kind of get that interest level up, trying to get that passion out of each student. Is that really one of the fun things for you, is just trying to, whether it's sports or teaching, just trying to get that out of every student, trying to get them to be their best?
Yes. See.
It can be challenging, I know.
It can be challenging, especially with the ones who, didn't get a good foothold on it, in the early years.
Right.
And plus, on top of that, a lot of the kids just didn't have the support at home
Right.
to, help build on those skills. And I just try to take it and make it as simple as I possibly
Sure.
can, to kind of get them up to where they need to be. That's not just in the classroom, but
Sure.
on the field too,
Right.
in sport wise.
And every student's different too. When
Every
you have a
stu- oh,
classroom
man.
of 20
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
students,
Yes.
it's
Yes. Everybody's got a different style of learning and how they grasp stuff. A lot of them hands-on,
Sure,
and some
right.
of them can just read it and
Yeah.
get it. But I'm the type of teacher who I just got to make it simple, because I know what it took for me.
sure.
Yeah. So I try to do it the same way that it was taught to me.
Well, I know back in my school days, it's been a few years, but the mind tended to wander.
Yeah.
Especially, I mentioned I grew up in Brunswick, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
down by the coast. So, especially when the warm days start to come around,
Mm-hmm.
your mind starts to think, man, I wish I'd kind of rather be on the beach right now than sitting
Yeah.
in the classroom. But that's part of being a teacher. Coach, let's talk about your background. You're from LaGrange.
From LaGrange.
And you went to LaGrange High School.
Went to LaGrange
and
High
I
School.
think you mentioned you graduated in 1974.
74.
Okay.
Class of 74.
And you played a handful of sports at LaGrange High, I'm sure.
Well, at LaGrange, I'm on the sports. I really just did 2 sports,
Okay.
which was football was my number 1 sport. and
Right.
I tried to go out for wrestling, and I was out there for a short period of time. But
Didn't take, huh?
wrestling just, you have to be really tough. You talk about of all,
Oh, my gosh,
of all
yeah.
the sports that are out there, wrestling is just you
Right.
by yourself, and it's tough.
Right.
It's tougher than football to me. Yeah.
Well, the thing I love about wrestling is there really is nobody else to depend on.
Right. Nobody has to depend on but
It's
yourself.
you, and man, you talk about fitness.
Yeah.
It's only 6 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that 6 minutes can last like an eternity.
You better believe it.
For a wrestler. But you, obviously, you mentioned you played football at LaGrange High School. You played for Coach Jimmy Hightower, who's really a coaching legend in the state. He was at LaGrange High for close to 10 years, and then I think he went to Americus after that. Just tell me, what was Coach Hightower? What was he like to play for?
Well, Coach Hightower was no nonsense type coach. I mean, he knew when to praise, and he knew when to get into your face.
Yep.
I remember I had gotten in some trouble at school, and got suspended. So me coming back to school, the first thing I ran into Coach Hightower. He's my PE teacher as well. So I think during that PE class, I told him I wanted to come out for football. And this was my junior year. It was my junior year when I came out. I had played previously at the boys junior high.
Okay.
With Coach Alford, Ted Alford.
Yeah.
He was my middle school coach. And so I didn't do anything else after I left the middle school until my, like I said, my junior year when I got in that trouble, and football was kind of like something I knew I could do, I wanted to do, and so he allowed me to come out, and I got a starting position, and it was history from there.
That's awesome. What position did you play?
I played linebacker.
Okay.
Linebacker. Yeah.
Okay. Did you really enjoy that position? Obviously, that's the position you got to enjoy the contact part of the sport.
Yeah.
Is that what you really liked about it?
Yeah, they used to call me the living torpedo.
Right.
Yeah, I used to mess up some people's shins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have being a linebacker, you need to know. I wasn't that big.
Right.
I was like 153 pounds as a middle linebacker. But the big running backs come out. I wasn't gonna hit them high up. I knew I had to go low.
Right.
And they got to the point where they hated to see me coming.
Right. The human torpedo.
Human
I
torpedo.
love that. Who came up with that? Do you remember? Or was it just one of your teammates? Okay.
Some of the teammates.
It's just all of a sudden one day Michael Woodard's a human torpedo, right?
Yeah.
Anybody still call you that, or probably?
Well, some of my old buddies still do. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's kind of, you think about the linebacker tradition at LaGrange High School too. Obviously the great teams they had throughout the 90s and 2000s. Gosh, Sam Olajubutu, Trey Blackman.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so maybe you kind of helped get that linebacker tradition started. Right?
Well, looking at today's the way it is today, you can't do that now.
Oh, no.
You can't do that now. See,
The game has changed a lot.
Yes, it has.
And what's really, I think, changed a lot too is how the preseason is run. I remember when I started out, practices were longer.
Right.
2 days.
2 days, 3 days in the summer.
Water was probably optional.
Yeah,
back in those days. So
and they even gave us salt pills, salt
right.
tablets. Yeah.
So yeah.
For cramps.
Did it work?
I can't remember. But.
Probably not. Probably. That's kind of like, what was it now? You're supposed to drink pickle juice, I guess.
Pickle juice.
Which
Mustard.
I think I'd rather have a cramp, to be honest, than drink pickle juice. But it's, you had to be tough. And you look back, the career you've had since then. Do you think, playing football at LaGrange High School, obviously you went on to join the military later, did that really kind of help prepare you for what was coming down the road?
I didn't know it at the time.
Not at the time,
but yeah,
right.
it did prepare me. It prepared me a lot. I can remember, especially when I went out in basic training, with the sports and athleticism that I had back here at home, basic training was a breeze for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Running those miles, push-ups, sit up the whole 9 yards. That was easy. And during the military, like I said, during my basic training years, they had this thing where they called super jocks. So I came in and they looked at me and all what I was doing. I was the super jock throughout my whole basic training cycle.
Right.
That's when you wear the patch. You get first in line and everything. But yeah, this training and background I had here really made that easy for me.
Right.
It really did. Mm-hmm.
And also, when you look back, I know I mentioned Wesley Woodard before. I remember talking to him. Some of the greatest moments he had, the greatest moments he had as a football player were in high school, playing at Callaway Stadium. Mm-hmm. When you look back on those days, just having those Friday nights under the lights at the stadium, that's, as an athlete, was that about as good as it gets?
That was all new to me, but it was, we looked forward to it.
Right.
We looked forward to it, when we were playing, when I go over to the stadium now sometimes, one side may be filled with fans, but when we came through, both sides were just packed with people, and it was new to me, and it was exciting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, so it fed me.
There's nothing like high school football. I love the fact that we've had the same stadium here in LaGrange for, almost 60 years now. Yeah. I think that stadium.
I didn't have turf now when I came through now.
No, the turf came in 2005 was the first year. I remember you might have played on some of those games where you could barely see the grass. It rained so much. It was basically mud.
Yeah. Many games.
Yeah.
We had that.
Obviously, you look back, coaching influences you had. I'm sure Coach Hightower is one of them. When you look back on your time as a high school player at LaGrange, were there other coaches that really made an impact on you?
Well, yeah, my linebacker coach, his name was Coach Shiver.
Uh-huh.
I don't know where he is today, even if he's still living, but he really took a closeness interest in me.
Right.
And he kept me fired up, and he was one of the coaches, and got in Coach Moore, Coach, oh man, it's right on
It's been a few years,
Coach
but
Monkus, Coach Mike Monkus.
oh wow,
Yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Monkus was your
Yes,
coach.
yes.
That's awesome. He's obviously still a big part of the Troop family now, and
Yes,
his
he
son
is.
Davis is a freshman at Troop High School now, or his grandson. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's just, you look back, and like you mentioned, a lot of times the impact they make on you, you might not even realize it until 10, 20 years down the road, and then those lessons you learned, like you mentioned, help you at basic training or in your profession. To me, is that one of the most valuable parts of sports is the lessons you learn, the discipline you gain from just simple things like having to be on time, you know, having to follow a set of rules and that kind of thing. That really helped you as you moved along in life.
Everything just regimented, you know what I mean? And that's how I kind of pattern my life today.
Yeah.
You know, everything's got to be regimented, what they call dress.
Right.
It's, you know, it makes life easier for me
Sure,
now.
right.
You know, everything's got to be in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about after you left, after you graduated from LaGrange High School. What was next for you, Coach? Did you go to college right away, or did you take some time off?
I didn't go to college right away. I probably took off about 6 months before I was doing a little menial jobs.
Okay.
I worked on the build truck. I worked at the hospital down in the dietary section of the hospital. And I lost my job down when I was at the hospital. I lost my job, and you know what? I look at it like this. I look at life like this. Now, if that guy had not fired me, I was terminated.
Right.
I was terminated from the hospital, young, dumb, and so I said, well. So after I left the hospital, I called myself trying to work on the build truck, and that was where I go in and change beer, go in those cold coolers, stack beer up, get the old beer out, put new beer in, bring the old beer back out and put it back on the truck. But anyway, it was mainly during the summer
Right.
months, and it was hot. And something told me, man, you can't do this. I'm not gonna do this all about the rest of my life.
No, 30 years of this, I can't do it. No.
Yeah. So I was working mini shift job at Duncan & Stewart, and this guy came into the break room and asked me, "Oh, are you interested in joining the National Guard?"
Okay.
And that's what got me started.
Wow.
This guy's name was Sergeant David Monan. And David Monan, if you're listening to this, hello. But yeah, David Monan, he's the one who got me started.
Right.
Sure did.
That's awesome. We'll talk more about your time in the National Guard later. I was in the Air National Guard myself.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. I mean, it paid for my tuition.
Same here.
You know.
Same here.
And just friendships I formed that I still have. I was in it for 6 years, not quite the 30 like you, but when you did eventually go to college, where did you go to college, Coach?
Went to Morris Brown out of Atlanta.
Okay.
At AU Center. And I went up there and I did my time in 4 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And I played a little football up there.
You did? Okay.
Played a little football up there.
Yeah.
I stayed injured quite a bit because I wasn't really a weight person, lifting weights.
Right.
People don't believe it, but weights has a tendency to make the body strong, and it kind of somewhat protects you from injuries.
Right.
And so, but I got on the weights after that. And I, like I said, I was known as a human torpedo. When I come at you, I hit you hard.
It takes a toll on the person you're hitting and the hit
body,
person
right,
that's doing the hitting. So.
Yeah. So after that, like I said, I stayed hurt quite a bit, Yeah.
Right. What was that experience like for you at Morris Brown? Obviously, you mentioned you played football a little bit, but that time in your life, was that really a special time for you?
It was a special time. It was something that I needed to get me through the days.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I didn't go right off to school, so I was kind of like a 23-year-old, or I was kind of like, I'm gonna say like a 24-year-old in there with 19 and 20-year-old other boys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that was just because I just needed something to do to occupy my time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I didn't pledge a fraternity in college. I wish I got out of college before I pledged, but so football was my fraternity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I'm sure, like you mentioned, friendships there that you still have today.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. I know you had some incredible experiences in the National Guard, and we'll talk some about that and about kind of your early coaching days when we come back, Coach.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
All right. Hey there, everybody. This is Kevin once again here with Coach Michael Woodard. Coach, again, I really appreciate you doing this. It's been a lot of fun to go down memory lane a little bit.
Pleased to do it.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I feel like behind us we got some of the trophies that the different sports teams have won over the years. I really like the little football trophy. That's from 2010 when y'all won the Troop County Championship.
Well,
So-
all of these trophies are championship trophies.
Okay.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
are championship trophies.
And each one of those trophies really tells a story, doesn't it? Every team is different, has
Yes.
its own personality, different coaching staffs, and that's really what makes sports so much fun. Is it's never the same, is it?
Never the
each
same.
day is different. Each minute is different. That's when you go into this business, you know that you never know when you show up at school each day what this day is going to bring.
That's true.
And in sports, obviously, there's no script. You never know in a game what's
That's
going
true.
to happen. Is
That's true.
that really kind of the fun part of it? Is just the fact that it really is different. It's not a 9-to-5 sitting behind a desk job. It really is. It really is an adventure, isn't
It
it?
is. It is. It's pretty adventurous.
Right.
And rewarding.
Yes.
Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah. I wanted to
And
talk.
it can be stressful too now.
It can be incredibly stressful, that's for sure. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your time in the National Guard, the Army, National
And the
Guard.
Army,
You joined after high school for probably, like I mentioned, I did it. Number one, there certainly is part you want to serve your country, but there's also the thought, you know what, I did not have the money to pay for college. My parents really didn't either. So
Right.
that gave me an avenue to do that. And I'm sure for you, that was part of it as well. You wanted to go to college, you wanted to further your education. And this gave you a chance to serve and to have your
Earn.
school paid for. So
Correct.
it really was the best of both worlds, wasn't it?
It was. At the time, I didn't think that wasn't on my mind.
Sure,
I was
right.
I just wanted to get into the Guard.
Right. Yeah.
But then the opportunities were there, so I took advantage of it.
Right.
And after you're in after you join and you're in so long or so many years, you are privileged to those benefits.
Right.
And one of the benefits is they will pay your tuition, to any school you want to go to.
Right.
Yeah. And so I took advantage of that, and because my parents, we were poor, we
Right.
didn't have anything, and I am the only one in my family, my immediate family, who actually went off to college and graduated.
That's awesome. Okay.
My brother, my oldest brother, he went to Fort Valley State, and he had a little time with the New York Jets.
Oh, wow.
Back during the Joe Namath years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played for the Jets for a minute. And then my oldest sister, she went to school for early childhood, had an early childhood background.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, the military paid my way through school.
Right.
Yes.
And you had, during your course of time in the National Guard, you had some incredibly impactful experiences. I believe especially something that stands out was Hurricane Katrina.
Oh yeah.
When that hit in the kind of early 2000s, the middle 2000s, you were really a part of the obviously the National Guard was a big part of that. So you were able to go be of service.
Correct.
And really get there where people were in desperate need
Yes.
of that help. To be able to be there for those communities and those people who desperately needed that assistance. Yeah, what was that like for you? That had to be incredibly satisfying for you.
Well, prior to that disaster, we I was in my first major disaster that we served or went to was in the '96 floods in South Georgia.
Oh wow, yes.
When the Flint overflowed it, and we were down in we were sent to Albany, and to see the destruction of that water.
It was devastating.
It was devastating, yeah. To see the destruction down there and caskets coming up out of the graves and stuff. You saw that kind of stuff, and farmers lost a lot of their crops and livestock, and to see all that.
And this is our state.
This is our state, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Katrina was, a little bit worse than that. No, not a little bit worse. It was worse. It was worse. But like I said, the storm of '96 was my first one going to, and then Katrina hit, and we wound up going there, and we were stationed out at what's the name of this place we were stationed at, and we had to go down to New Orleans. Everybody couldn't come in to New Orleans. You had the little cities or towns on the outskirts of and then we went in to help with the disaster relief.
Right.
People were cut off in places where we had to get through to them, get them food, get them water, get them medication, and this kind of stuff. It was something. I would never want to go through it.
No, these are people who literally lost everything.
Yes, yeah.
They're all their possessions, and they really had nothing. So just something simple, just like water, just something to drink, and that's again the chance to. The floods, Katrina, and other times you were able to help people. That had to mean the world to you and the people you served with. Just because that's you want to help, you want to be there for people in times of need, and that you got the chance to do that.
Got a chance to do that.
That didn't mean a lot to you.
Right, and we had had other Army units to come in from other states, Tennessee, all the surrounding southeastern states. We have what we call this task force, where everybody convene and provide support for those people.
Well, one of the things again I really appreciate about the military, you kind of use a sports analogy. Everybody's thrown together. It's kind of like the ultimate melting pot. That's sports team, military, and that's people from all different backgrounds. So is that kind of the fun part of that for you as well? Just get to know people who maybe came from different backgrounds, obviously different cities, different states, different parts of the country. So you really got exposed to people who grew up differently than you. They grew up in different places. Was that really fun for you?
Especially in the basic training.
Absolutely.
You're new, and you got all these kids, you got all these other guys from there. Like I say, all walks of life, all walks of parts of the country. That you develop a bond with them. And because we're all here for the same purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I can remember, Air Force basic training might have been a little different, but it was an experience. And one thing that stood out to me was the drill instructor, the different ways he could work Eckleberry into different iterations was really remarkable. Some of the I couldn't repeat them here, but again, going back to sports, is that kind of prepares you for that. First of all, just getting something as simple as getting yelled at, right? Because a lot of people, that's like, oh man, why is this person yelling at me? And it's just part of it, right? And it's just all about. It kind of teaches you to be mentally strong, doesn't it? And to be able to. Bad things are happening to me. I'm just going to make the most of it and persevere. When you look back on those days, go through basic training. Was that really valuable for you?
I mean, like I said, basic training was easy for me because, like I said,
you're ready for it.
I was ready for it. And I was, like I said, maybe 2 years older than my comrades. So that mental thing, that mental toughness was there. And only thing I knew they couldn't hurt us. Drill sergeants, they get in your face, they can, but they can't hurt you. So and I knew that. So, and they very seldom got up in my face. I was chosen as leaders when I was out there, to lead, because of my background and everything.
How long did you serve, Coach Woodard?
Right at 34 years.
34 years.
34 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's really remarkable. Is that again, I put it in 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
but that's when you joined. Was that in the back of your mind that this is really something I could see myself doing for years, decades, or just kind of just happened?
Believe it, Kevin, I didn't. Those kind of thoughts would never occur to me. I got in,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at, God just had a lot of angels around me,
Right. Yes.
people,
Right.
to point me in the right direction, do the right thing, and do this and do that. That really helped me.
Right.
So it wasn't that challenging as far as
Right.
me being out of place or was worried about
Right.
not passing the PT test, not passing the rifle qualification, this kind of stuff. It just came.
Sure.
So now some kids struggle. Other kids struggle.
Right.
It didn't bother me when it was time for the PT test to come up,
Sure.
because I knew I was going to pass. It didn't bother me when it was time to go to the rifle qualification range.
Right. Well, you
that kind of
probably,
stuff.
as you got older, you probably enjoyed showing the kids how to do it, right?
Exactly.
Well, tell me, I know every coach I've talked to, they all have their different journeys to becoming a coach. For you, what was kind of the moment when you realized this is what I want to do? I want to be a coach. I want to be a teacher. When did that kind of happen for you?
It kind of happened to me when I got to college.
Okay.
When I got to college, prior to me going to college, back here in LaGrange, I used to coach Little League football.
Okay.
Used to be a coach of Little League football, and plus my coaching time for myself. It didn't dawn on me what I wanted to be when I got to school, my freshman year. So I became a PE teacher.
Right.
I strived to be a PE teacher. So that's where it all started from. But it wasn't set out there, this is what I want to do in life.
Sure.
It came, it just happened. You know what I mean?
And then once you started doing it, it realized this is what I was meant to do all along,
Right.
Yeah. Yep,
I'll
absolutely.
tell you something. I don't know if you, Vince Sutton.
Oh, I love
You remember
this,
Vince?
yes.
He was on my Little League football team. And
How about that?
I'm just proud to say that.
Yeah.
He was one of the first kids on my Little League football team.
Wow, Vince was a special player, special person as well. Gosh, that's got to be so incredible. You never know. Sometimes, I don't know, at that age especially, you never know
Right.
but there probably are some kids you coach, you're like, that person's going to go do something special one day. Was Vince one of those?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
You kind of knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, Wesley,
Yeah.
when Wesley was here at the middle school, Wesley was a little old bitty kid.
Right.
And I didn't see it.
Right.
But when he hit the high school,
Yeah.
I mean, he got on those weights, and now he was a hard nose. He was hard nosed over here, but he was just so small.
Right.
And I didn't see it in him, but then he blossomed.
Wesley Woodard did all right. That's
Yeah,
for
he
he's part of one of the most memorable games I've ever covered. I'm sure you might have been there that night. The 2003 playoffs. They beat Swainsboro 2-0 in the third round of the state playoffs, and Wesley had a tackle in the end zone for a safety. Those were the only points that night.
Only points that night.
They won 2-0. But when I talked to Coach Pardue, who was his head coach, Donnie Branch was the defense coordinator.
Yeah.
It wasn't obviously his skills. You could really see that, but his leadership was really something that stood out. When you had him in middle school, even though you mentioned he was a little scrawny then, but that's something you could really see that this is somebody who I can see really being a leader down the road.
I didn't see it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see it.
He developed.
Yeah, he developed. He really he developed. Yeah, he really developed.
Yeah,
And
that's
some of the kids you see here and you think, man, he's gonna make it. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do that. They don't.
right.
And so I made a point to say, well, I don't know what's gonna happen. I know what it looks like you may be able to do, but I'm not gonna say you're gonna make it. I hope.
Right.
But,
It's all part of the journey. The middle school is just part of that journey.
Correct.
Yeah, and the story's a long way from written. That's for sure. What was your first stop? What was your first coaching stop? You mentioned you were at LaGrange High School, and then you came over here. Where did you kind of get your start coaching and teaching?
Over at Boys Junior High.
Okay.
It's Ethel Kite now.
Okay.
At that school. I was working with Larry Pitts.
Yeah.
You know Larry Pitts.
Yes,
Larry Pitts
absolutely.
and, So he and Glenn Darden, yeah, we all worked together over there. So that's why I got started. That's why I got started from.
Yeah, what was that like for you, that experience?
Well, that's been a long time
It's been a
ago,
few years,
and you know, I was green coming in.
Yeah.
But it worked out, you know, the kids, I enjoyed the kids, and I enjoyed working with the kids. And so I think things work out better for you if you enjoy doing what you're doing.
Right,
So
absolutely.
it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, this would be, if you didn't enjoy it, it'd be a pretty miserable way to make a
Yeah,
living.
yeah.
You absolutely have to. Let's talk a little bit about your family, Coach. I know you mentioned you have 3 kids.
Correct.
One who's gone into education himself and is actually teaching and coaching up at Harris County.
Down in Harris County.
Just tell me, I know when I talk to coaches, like you mentioned, it can be a stressful way to make a living, to have support at home and to be able to go there, that kind of be your refuge. How much has that meant to you over the years to have that support? First of all, tell me, what's your wife's name, Coach?
My wife's name is Shirley.
Okay.
Yeah, Shirley. We've been together for over 30 years.
Wow.
Together for
Yeah.
30 years. My oldest son, he went to LaGrange High. He ran track, and when he graduated, he went down to Albany State for a couple of years, and like I said, college isn't for everybody.
Right.
So he came back and he's working. He has a family, and he's working. And my youngest son, Desmond, he you know, he's always tried to be like his dad.
Right.
You know, and my oldest son, he's like his mom. You know,
Right.
if you look at him,
Yeah.
you look at his mom, they look alike. And Desmond, he just, I don't know, but I'm proud of him seeing me as his idol.
Wow.
You know, 'cause
Yeah.
you know, he's a split image of me, and he loves sports, and he likes the teaching profession.
Right.
So that's what he's doing out there now, and you know, he's still young at it, so he still got a lot more years
Sure,
to put
yeah.
in. You know, I'm kind of like at the tail end of my journey now.
Oh, come on, you're still, you got a long way to go,
Oh, yeah.
Coach. It's one thing that stands out with me, with you, is I know fitness has always been really important to you. When you're out there refereeing a basketball game, obviously that's a lot of running, a lot of getting up and down the
that
court.
court.
And so, but beyond that, I know that's something that's always been important to you. And as a coach, you're probably trying to set an example
Correct.
for the players you lead to you. So, so is that something like every day you just try to get out and run, try to get out and lift some weights? But what's the kind of the Coach Woodard fitness routine like?
Well, first of all, when I went my first major in college was health and phys ed. So
Right. Okay.
that's all I need to say. You know, I know what it takes, and I know what you need to do to maintain
Right.
a healthy fit body. And that is to eat the right thing. You got to exercise. You can't sit around and not burn up what you put in you. So that aspect of my teaching, which was, like I said, health, I know it.
Right.
You know, and I know that's what everybody know. A lot of people don't do what I do, but you know, I know, and that's why I do what I do,
Right.
and try to stay in shape.
Well, we all struggle. I know when I drive by and I see that crispy creams on it, it's tough to keep on going.
Yeah.
For sure. And Coach, I wanted to ask you about somebody I know who's really special to you here at Gardner Newman, Coach Tia Sheffield, who's the current athletics director. And she's, when I talk to her, she always mentions how much of a mentor you were for her. To see her take over as athletics director, that's got to really mean a lot to you.
Yes, it does. It does. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Coach Woodard was about to get ready to retire.
Right.
But I think she was the next person best to get the job.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she's busting her butt trying to do the right thing,
Right.
and try to bring and doing what this school really needs athletic wise.
Right.
Yeah.
And from a football standpoint, I know after you retired, I think it was Coach Weathers was the coach for a little
Correct.
bit, and right now it's Coach Marcus Blandenberg, who's doing an incredible job. You talk about a leader of young men. They don't make many better than
Right.
him. So to see somebody
Old
like
school.
to
He's
see
old
somebody,
school.
he is,
Yeah.
100% he
Yeah.
is, and he's a LaGrange High guy, somebody you coached. To see him leading this football program, that's got to be really gratifying for you as well.
Yes, it is. It is. I have to say, like I say, I think he looks at me like I look at Coach Jackson.
Yeah,
He was one of the first. He was one of the first players on my, when we were in a mirror.
wow,
He was one of the first players on my team, and when he came back, and I heard he was coaching, no, not coaching, but teaching over at Berta.
right,
And then later on, he got the job over here after I left.
right,
I was just all up in arms for him, you know,
Yep.
and that, you know, wish him nothing but the best.
right.
And he's done a great job since he's been here. I can say that.
He has
Yeah.
been. Well, let's finish with this, Coach. I know I was there the day they had kind of the dedication ceremony, naming the field down there after you. That's got to be incredibly impactful because you always hope you make an impact, and to have the school and Coach Sheffield and Coach Blandenberg kind of honor you like that. Just tell me what that meant to you.
Well, like I said, they were instrumental in making that happen.
Yep.
Hey, can't make you feel any way but good, you know,
No.
for those two people to, you know, just to go out their way to do that.
Right.
You know, and I didn't see that coming,
No.
but I was glad. I was so proud of them, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know you shared that day. Your family was there to support you. It was one of those special days you look back on. You hope whatever you do in life, you hope you make an impact. And Coach Michael Woodard, you absolutely have. And this has been so much fun for me to talk to you today. I've known Coach Woodard quite a few years, and this has really been a privilege for me to talk to you. And I appreciate you sharing your background and all these really fun stories.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate you letting me share with everyone
Right.
a little bit about me, those who don't know me.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Coach Michael Woodard.
Yes, sir.